The desert sands stretched out before him, an endless sea of golden grains that seemed to go on forever. They shimmered under the relentless sun, creating a mirage of water that danced on the horizon, teasing the eyes with illusions of an oasis. Moses, a humble shepherd, tended his flock with care and dedication. Each sheep was like a member of his family, and he knew them all by name. He was a man of quiet strength and deep faith, his eyes reflecting the wisdom of someone who had spent countless hours in contemplation under the vast desert sky. Little did he know that his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. Destiny awaited him just beyond the horizon. His path would become a testament to faith and divine power, a journey that would be remembered for generations to come. Moses was no ordinary shepherd. His attire, though simple, carried the marks of his unique heritage. He was a descendant of Abraham, a lineage that carried with it a profound covenant with God. He carried the weight of his ancestors' covenant with God, a promise that had been passed down through generations. He lived among the Israelites, a people bound by their shared history and their faith in a promise of deliverance. They were enslaved in Egypt, their lives marked by hardship and suffering under the oppressive rule of Pharaoh. Their cries for freedom reached the heavens, a collective plea for liberation that echoed through the ages. One day, as Moses led his flock to the foot of Mount Horeb, he felt a strange sense of anticipation. This mountain, known as the Mountain of God, held a special significance. The majestic mountain range stood tall and imposing, its peaks shrouded in mystery and spiritual significance. It was a place of awe and mystery, where the divine seemed to touch the earth. As he wandered the rocky slopes, his mind filled with thoughts of his people's plight. Something extraordinary happened that would change his life forever. A bush was engulfed in flames, its fiery glow standing out starkly against the barren landscape. But it did not burn. The flames danced around the branches, yet the bush remained unscathed, a miraculous sight that defied the laws of nature. This was no ordinary fire. It was a divine manifestation, a sign from God that something momentous was about to unfold. Moses stood in awe, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and wonder. It was a sign from God, a call to a higher purpose that he could not ignore. It was a call to a higher purpose, a divine mission that would lead him to become the deliverer of his people. Moses approached the burning bush cautiously, his heart filled with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. He knew that this moment was sacred, a turning point in his life. His life and the fate of his people were about to change forever. The shepherd would soon become a leader, a prophet, and a symbol of hope for generations to come. The flames danced and flickered, casting eerie shadows that seemed to come alive in the darkness. The night was silent, save for the crackling of the fire, which seemed to whisper secrets of ancient times. Yet the bush remained untouched by the flames, a miraculous sight that defied the laws of nature. Moses, a humble shepherd, approached cautiously, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity. He was drawn to the strange sight, unable to tear his eyes away from the burning bush that was not consumed. Each step he took was filled with trepidation, yet an inexplicable force compelled him forward. "Moses! Moses!" a voice called out from the heart of the fire, resonating with a power that shook him to his core. Moses trembled, his knees growing weak as he realized he was in the presence of something divine. He recognized the voice of God, a voice that carried the weight of eternity. In reverence, he removed his sandals, for he knew he stood on sacred ground, a place hallowed by the presence of the Almighty. He stood on holy ground, a place where heaven touched earth, and the ordinary became extraordinary. The air around him seemed to hum with divine energy, filling him with awe and wonder. "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob," the voice boomed, echoing through the desert like a thunderclap. It was a declaration of identity, a reminder of the covenant that spanned generations. God revealed his plan to Moses, a plan that would change the course of history. He spoke of the suffering of the Israelites, their cries for deliverance, and the promise of liberation. He would lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, freeing them from the chains of oppression that had bound them for centuries. This mission was monumental, a task that seemed impossible to human eyes. He would bring them to a land flowing with milk and honey, a land of abundance and prosperity. This was the Promised Land, a place where the Israelites would find peace and fulfillment. This was the Promised Land. Moses was afraid, his heart heavy with doubt and uncertainty. The enormity of the task before him weighed on his shoulders, and he questioned his own worthiness. He doubted his own abilities, feeling inadequate and unprepared for such a divine mission. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" he asked, his voice trembling with insecurity. "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" he asked again, seeking reassurance from the divine. God, in his infinite wisdom and compassion, reassured him with words of comfort and strength. "I will be with you," he said, his voice a balm to Moses' troubled soul. These words were a promise, a guarantee that Moses would not walk this path alone. The presence of God would be his constant companion. He gave Moses a sign, a tangible proof of his power and support. The staff in Moses' hand, a simple shepherd's tool, would become a symbol of divine authority and miraculous power. Moses' staff would turn into a snake, a demonstration of God's ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. This miracle would serve as a testament to God's presence and power. This would prove God's power, a sign to both Moses and the people of Israel that their deliverance was at hand. It was a promise of hope, a beacon of light in the darkness of their bondage. Filled with a newfound sense of purpose, Moses accepted his divine mission. His heart, once filled with doubt, now burned with determination and faith. He was ready to lead his people to freedom. He knew the journey ahead would be arduous and fraught with challenges. The path to the Promised Land was long and difficult, filled with obstacles and trials that would test his faith and resolve. But he also knew he was not alone. God was with him, a constant source of strength and guidance. With this divine assurance, Moses set forth on his journey, ready to fulfill his destiny and lead his people to the land of promise. Moses journeyed back to Egypt, a land he once fled from. The desert sands whispered ancient secrets as he walked, each step bringing him closer to his destiny. His brother Aaron joined him, a steadfast companion in this divine mission. Together they stood before Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, in a grand throne room adorned with opulence and power. Pharaoh was a powerful ruler, his presence commanding respect and fear. His throne, a symbol of his might, was surrounded by symbols of his divine right to rule. He considered himself a god, adorned in attire that reflected his supposed divinity. The people of Egypt worshipped him, believing in his godlike status. He scoffed at Moses' words, dismissing them as the ramblings of a madman. His laughter echoed through the grand hall, a sound filled with arrogance and disbelief. He refused to free the Israelites, his heart hardened by pride. In defiance, Moses raised his staff, a symbol of God's power and authority. It transformed into a serpent, a miraculous sign meant to demonstrate the power of the true God. The serpent slithered across the floor, a living testament to divine intervention. The serpent moved with purpose, its presence causing a stir among Pharaoh's court. Pharaoh's magicians were astonished, their eyes wide with disbelief. They had never seen anything like it, their minds struggling to comprehend the power they were witnessing. The room buzzed with murmurs of awe and fear. In an attempt to match the miracle, they too threw down their staffs, hoping to replicate the divine act. Their staffs turned into snakes, a display of their own magical prowess. But these serpents were mere imitations, lacking the true power of God. but Moses' serpent devoured their snakes, a clear demonstration of God's supremacy. This act showed God's power, a power that was unmatched and undeniable. Yet, Pharaoh remained unconvinced. He hardened his heart, refusing to acknowledge the divine message. The Israelites remained enslaved, their suffering prolonged by Pharaoh's stubbornness. Moses knew he had to show Pharaoh more signs, more undeniable proofs of God's might. His resolve was unwavering, his faith in God's plan unshakable. He would prove the might of God through a series of miracles, each one more powerful than the last. These signs were not just for Pharaoh, but for all of Egypt to witness. Each sign would be a testament to God's power, a clear message that the true God was with the Israelites. The miracles were varied and awe-inspiring, leaving no room for doubt. Pharaoh's stubbornness would only lead to more suffering, his refusal to heed the signs bringing greater calamities upon his people. His heart, hardened by pride, blinded him to the truth. But with each miracle, the faith of the Israelites grew stronger. They saw the hand of God at work, their hope rekindled by the signs of divine intervention. Their belief in Moses and in God's promise was fortified, giving them the strength to endure their trials. Pharaoh remained unmoved. He refused to acknowledge the power of God. Moses, guided by God, performed another miracle. He placed his hand inside his cloak. When he withdrew it, his hand glowed with a blinding light. It radiated with divine energy. It was a sight that filled the Egyptians with awe and terror. Pharaoh's own magicians were baffled. They could not replicate this miracle. They declared, "This is the finger of God." Yet, Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. He clung to his pride and power. He refused to free the Israelites. The radiant hand was a symbol of God's presence. It was a beacon of hope for the Israelites. They endured their suffering,